more investments expected from Prime Minister's second visit to China. Second phase of Op Hormat to begin tomorrow. Hello and good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Madani. Thanks for joining us. I'm Otto Othman and you're watching Updates at Noon. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim's upcoming visit to China would help have a spin-off of another round of investments for Malaysia like what was achieved in the previous visit in March. According to Economy Minister Rafizi Ramli, Datuk Seri Anwar and China's leadership relationship is on good terms, with various meetings being conducted as well as follow-through discussions from time to time.
It is also in recognition that China is one of our top trading partners, and there's a lot of synergies. So obviously every time PM visits China, it's not just a smile and hi type of thing. There are a series of follow-through, and I know that for MOUs or investments that were in from his previous visit, he followed up from his office with all the required departments. So things did move a lot faster. So I hope this will spin off another round of such investments.
Datuk Seri Anwar is expected to make his second visit to China by attending the China ASEAN Expo 2023 in Nanning, China on 17th September to further strengthen ties between the two countries and build on preparations for the 50th anniversary of Malaysia-China relationship next year. In another development, Rafizi said increasing household income is the government's immediate focus and poverty eradication will come on its own way. He said the government is investing in infrastructure in a bid to create sustainable income-generating programs. According to Rafizi, infrastructures are not just machines but are income-generating assets for participants or recipients from low-income families.
Once I think we get some progress on increasing income level of households, some of the factors taken into account in the multi-dimensional poverty index, that will improve by itself, because it looks at, for example, access to internet, it looks to access to health and so on. Is given that as income levels increases, then the quality of life also increases. But let's focus on that first, because with better income, they can manage the cost of living better, and they can afford and have better access to all the other features of the multi-dimensional poverty index that Muhyiddin said.
The minister was met after attending the Associated Chinese Chambers of Commerce and Industry of Malaysia, ICCCIM, Power Chat and launching of the 17th World Chinese Entrepreneurs Convention, or WCEC, in Kuala Lumpur. Cooperation from the private sector is highly needed to reach the target of zero carbon emissions by the year 2050. Now, Natural Resources, Environment and Climate Change Minister Nik Ahmad said efforts to empower the environment, social and governance (ESG) initiative can increase the competitiveness of local companies in the global market.
Menunjukkan komitmen mereka dan ini akan membantu kita terhadap usaha mencapai sifar bersih seawal 2050. Sebagaimana kita selalu tekankan, peranan kerajaan semata-mata tidak mencukupi. Ya, kita kerajaan ada kekangan dan ada banyak prioriti, tetapi kalau perlibatan pihak swasta sama ada JLC seperti UM Magenta maupun MNC atau pihak swasta yang sebenar, itu semua penting untuk memastikan sampai ke satu tahap critical mass dalam pelaburan kita ke arah peralihan tenaga
He said this when officiating an event in conjunction with the ESG Awareness Month 2023 in Bangsar yesterday. Bursa Malaysia turned positive at mid-morning, boosted by bargain hunting after it was mixed in earlier trade. At 11 a.m., the Bursa Malaysia KLCI rose 1.11 points to 1,454.65 from yesterday's close of 1,453.54. The index opened 4.32 points lower at 1,449.22. Now, among the heavyweights, Public Bank, Celcom DG and IHH added 2 sen each to 4 ringgit and 16 sen, 4 ringgit 49 sen and 5 ringgit 96 sen respectively. Of the actives, KNM inched up half a sen to 11 sen, Capital A expanded 5 sen to 1 ringgit and RGB improved 2 sen to 30.5 sen. Coming up next, pensioner loses over 4 million ringgit to cryptocurrency investment scam. Police will be conducting the second phase of Op Hormat in the federal capital for 2 weeks from tomorrow to get city folks comply with traffic laws and regulations. Kuala Lumpur Police Chief Dato' Alauddin Abdul Majid said it was held for the second time following the positive feedback from the people on the implementation of the earlier operation in July.
Mana saya selalu nyatakan, selain daripada kita hendakkan Kuala Lumpur ni selamat, safe, secure, kita hendakkan juga warga dia patuh kepada peraturan, orderly, ya. So itulah objektif kita supaya kehidupan warga KL ni adalah lebih teratur dan tiada halangan ataupun sekatan khususnya pada waktu-waktu puncak.
Dato' Alauddin said the implementation of the second phase will be carried out during peak hours in the morning and evening at 16 junctions in the capital. It will be conducted with the cooperation of the Road Transport Department, JPJ, Kuala Lumpur City Hall, DBKL, and the Department of Environment, involving about 1,000 officers and personnel. Among the junctions affected are at Jalan Tun Razak, Jalan Ampang, Jalan Tun Razak, Jalan Semara, Jalan Raja Laut, Jalan Sultan Ismail, Jalan Bukit Bintang, Jalan Raja Chulan, Jalan Imbi, Jalan Sultan Ismail. Now, the Road Transport Department JPJ confiscated 3,111 motorcycles nationwide under the Special Motorcycle Ops from 1st September until yesterday. Senior Enforcement Director Dato' Lokman Jaman said the motorcycles were confiscated for not complying with safety standards for use on the road. He further explained that JPJ did not seize the motorcycles, but instead confiscated them to stop them from committing repeated and high-risk offences and prevent any serious injuries or fatalities. The motorcycles could also be claimed once the documentation is done and any offences committed are resolved, in addition to the motorcycles having proper insurance coverage. Enforcement in the operation lasting until 30th September takes on an approach based on compliance audit as well as reinforcing a culture of adherence to traffic regulations under the Road Transport Act 1987, Act 333.
Kadar pematuhan telah meningkat sehingga 1 hingga 4% ya daripada mula kita melaksanakan pematuhan, pengauditan dan juga penguasaan. So menunjukkan satu perkembangan yang positif di mana pengguna-pengguna motosikal khususnya telah mula mengikuti peraturan-peraturan jalan raya.
Selangor recorded the highest number of domestic violence cases in the country since 2017. This year alone, 813 cases were reported as of last month. State Police Chief Dato' Hussein Omar Khan said statistics show that there has been an increase in domestic violence cases in Selangor from 2017 to 2021, although there was a drop in 2022. He said wives were often the victims in these cases, followed by children and husbands, apart from other victims such as ex-husbands, ex-wives, other wives, daughters-in-law, as well as son-in-law and cousins. Police viewed such cases of domestic violence seriously, and the community should change the notion of not being a busybody, considering such cases can cause harm.
You see, when police got to know, we got all the power to go and raid the places and save the monster, together with KKM, JKM. So that's how important it is. Unless everybody keep quiet, that victim continuously being tortured and probably towards the death. So it shows how important, as I mentioned 3 cases earlier, if neighbors didn't come forward informing the police, and because police don't know, we are not there.
A government pensioner has parted ways with 4.4 million ringgit after being duped in a non-existent cryptocurrency investment. The 60-year-old victim was promised a 5 to 10% return of the capital amount with no specific investment period. Brickfield's District Police Chief, ACP Amihizam Abdul Shukur, said attracted by the offer, the man was directed to register on a website and made 90 transactions in stages to 3 separate accounts provided by the suspect beginning 18 July until 6 September. The victim lodged a report at the Commercial Crime Investigation Department of the Brickfield's District Police Headquarters yesterday after he failed to access the website and contact the suspect. The case is being investigated under Section 420 of the Penal Code.
Dapatkan penghantaran dan pulangan percuma serta tawaran hebat fashion dan kecantikan di Shopee Hari Fashion Hebat.
In our foreign segment, at least 5 killed, 25 wounded in Gaza border blast. A Libyan city devastated by a flood this week was particularly vulnerable to disaster after a decade of chaos in Libya that has halted infrastructure investment and years of fighting on its own streets that put residents at odds with local authorities. Derna, in eastern Libya, was wrecked when storm waters overwhelmed 2 dams, sending a torrent through the city center early on Monday and sweeping whole districts into the sea. It is not yet clear whether crumbling infrastructure or decisions by the authorities contributed to the disaster and the huge loss of life put in the thousands. But risks facing the city were flagged long before disaster struck. An academic published a paper in 2022 said that repeated flooding threatened the dams built in a dry riverbed above the city and urged immediate maintenance. Libya has had no government with a nationwide reach since the 2011 uprising that toppled Muammar Gaddafi. Rival factions have splintered the country, cities were pitted against each other, and state funds diverted by corruption. Between the national problems and the more local ones, academics said Derna is one of the least equipped to deal with such a tragedy. Rescue teams stepped up a massive effort in devastated Moroccan mountain villages as chances faded for finding survivors from last week's earthquake, which killed nearly 3,000 people and left many homeless. Vehicles packed with supplies were inching up winding mountain roads to deliver desperately needed food and tents to survivors of the nation's strongest quake on record and deadliest in more than 6 decades. Smaller quakes are still rattling the disaster zone as search teams still scouring the rubble for the living. Morocco is now well past the 72-hour window when rescues are considered most likely, yet survivors are in some cases found well beyond that period. Moroccan authorities reported that crews were working hard to clear unpaved tracks that have been cut off by landslides. In the hardest hit areas south of Marrakesh, many villages in the high Atlas Mountains were completely destroyed, and locals were taking shelter in yellow government-issued tents. The tents in Tix and elsewhere are an indication that aid is reaching some remote places, but they are intended to be only temporary and will be totally insufficient once the weather turns. At least 5 Palestinians have been killed and 25 others wounded in an explosion next to the separation fence along the Israeli frontier with Gaza. Now, according to Ministry of Health in the Gaza Strip, the cause of the blast was not immediately known. Wednesday's explosion took place during a demonstration along the fence marking the anniversary of Israel's withdrawal from the Gaza Strip in 2005. The event on Gaza's eastern border was organized by Hamas. The demonstrators said Israeli soldiers fired tear gas before the deadly blast. Witnesses told local media that when a Palestinian explosives engineering unit was trying to defuse an explosive device, Israeli forces opened fire, preventing them from escaping the blast. The Israeli army, which has carried out several spells of deadly bombing on the besieged enclave, denied involvement. It said that demonstrators were trying to throw a bomb over the fence when the device detonated. Earlier in the day, participants held Palestinian flags and burned tires to celebrate the anniversary of Israel's withdrawal. Argentina recorded an inflation rate of 12.4% in August, the highest monthly change in over 3 decades in a country dogged by chronic economic instability. Argentines are already struggling to make ends meet after years of rising prices and currency volatility, and the latest figures come a little over a month before general elections. According to a report by its statistics agency, INDEC, prices rose 124% over the past 12 months and 80.2% since January. Economy Minister Sergio Massa, who is running for president, said last week that August was the worst month in the last 25 years for the economy. The increase in inflation had been expected after the peso was devalued by 21% in August as part of a deal with the International Monetary Fund (IMF) to unblock credit as part of a $44 billion loan package. Argentines are no stranger to inflation woes, with several periods of hyperinflation in the late 80s and early 90s, which reached up to 3,000%. Coming up in sports, Ferguson's brace gives JDT comfortable cushion in Malaysia Cup. National Wushu squad has the potential to deliver Malaysia's first medal at the 2022 Hangzhou Asian Games in China, to be held from 23rd September to 8th October. Chef de Mission Dato' Chong Kim Fat said, based on the competition schedule, Wushu athletes will have the opportunity to kickstart the national contingent's medal collection once their events start on 24th September, less than 12 hours after the opening of the Games.
Memang berpotensial dia adalah Wong Winston. Wong Winston memang dia walaupun dia dalam kita punya medals, kerana dalam kombo dia itu jam dia sehalus kita adalah gold medalist. Tetapi lepas COVID-19 dia ambil ubat, dia punya lung ada masalah.
Wang Son, who has since collected 1 gold, 6 silver and 1 bronze at the World Championships since 2015, in addition to 3 gold medals at the World Cup, took the silver through the Jiangsu Qiangshu event and the Shangquan bronze at the recent Cambodia Sea Games. In recent times, the Wushu camp has become the country's first gold medal contributors, including at the Philippines 2019 Sea Games and Cambodia 2023, in addition to the country's first gold in the history of the World University Games in Chengdu, China in July. Well, Well, local motorsports fans can purchase special Rahmah tickets for as low as 49 ringgit 90 sen. That has been introduced by the Sepang International Circuit SIC for the 2023 Malaysian Motorcycle Grand Prix GP. SIC Chief Executive Officer Azhan Sharifman Hanif said 7,000 K2 Hill Stand tickets are on sale to Malaysian fans via online and ticketing counters.
Tiket Rahmah is on top of what we are doing at the moment, right? Like what I said earlier, is to open the gates to those we hear that merintih kesusahan nak beli tiket mahal daripada tahun lepas. Kita dengar rintihan daripada rakyat bahawa tiket GP dah naik harga. We hear you, and that's why we come up with this initiative dengan KBS untuk kita buka the gates for everyone.
Azhan said SIC is expecting 170,000 spectators this year, compared to 164,000 last year. He added that they are on the right track to a sold-out crowd because last year almost 70% of the tickets were sold. Meanwhile, Azhan said that so far, no local riders would be given a wild card to ride in the Malaysian GP. He, however, said this could change if they are parties willing to become sponsors and that a decision will only be known 45 days before race day. The 2023 Malaysian Motorcycle GP will be held from 10th to 12th November. Brazilian import Bergson da Silva bagged a brace to inspire Malaysia Cup defending champions Johor Darul Takzim JDT to a comfortable 3-0 win over three-time champions Negeri Sembilan FC in the first leg of the quarterfinals in Paroi last night. In the match at the Tuanku Abdul Rahman Stadium, the Southern Tigers began aggressively and nearly took a 14th-minute lead when Bergeson's attempt was pushed out by NSFC goalkeeper Muhammad Firdaus Irman Muhammad Fadil. JDT, however, did not have to wait long for the opening goal as 6 minutes later, Arif Aiman Muhammad Hanapi thundered home from long range. Negeri Sembilan defender Nasrullah Hanif Johan then handed JDT a gift when he foiled Bergeson in the box, and the Brazilian coolly slotted from the spot to make it 2-0 in the 31st minute. The Deer, under the guidance of coach K. Devan, tried to fight back, but to no avail. Bergeson then made sure JDT will take back a comfortable 3-goal cushion when he netted his second, and the team's third, with the beautifully taken free kick in injury time. The return leg tie will be played at the Sultan Ibrahim Stadium in Iskandar Putri, Johor on 23rd September. Italy midfielder Marco Verratti has left Paris Saint-Germain to join Qatari side Al Arabi. Now, according to Italian media, Verratti has signed a 3-year deal with Qatar Stars League club, who have paid a reported 45 million euros for the 30-year-old. Verratti, who has never played in Italy's Serie A, joined PSG in 2012 from his hometown club Pescara. The League One side paid 12 million euros for the then 19-year-old. In the 11 seasons at PSG, Verratti played in 416 matches, making him the club's second highest appearance maker behind Jean-Marc Piloget. He helped PSG win 9 league titles, a record in League One, along with 6 French Cups. Verratti has not been part of new manager Luis Enrique's plans following the recent departures of players including Lionel Messi, Neymar and Mario Icardi. Verratti has also won 55 international cups, scoring 3 goals. He was in the Italy squad who won Euro 2020, starting the final in which they beat England in a penalty shootout. Meanwhile, Verratti's new club, Al Arabi, finished runners-up to a Al Dual in last season's Qatar Stars League and have started this season with 3 draws. Tottenham Hotspur's misfiring forward Richarlison said he will seek psychological help on his return to England after shedding tears when he was substituted during Brazil's 5-1 thrashing of Bolivia last Friday. The 26-year-old Brazilian was photographed crying on the bench after being taken off 71 minutes into the 2026 World Cup qualifier in Belém. The striker, who has scored only 4 goals in 40 games for his Premier League side, told Brazilian newspaper O Globo that he had been through a turbulent time off the pitch over the last 5 months, but the storm had passed. Tottenham, under new management Ange Postecoglou, are second in the Premier League. The Australian last month backed Richarlison, who joined from Everton last year for a reported £60 million, equivalent to about $74.95 million, including add-ons, to find the net regularly despite his struggles in front of a goal. The Polish Football Association announced on Wednesday that they have parted ways with Portuguese coach Fernando Santos following Poland's 2-0 defeat in Albania, which left them struggling to qualify for Euro 2024. Santos, who won Euro 2016 with Portugal, has been charged since January, succeeding Czesław Michniewicz, who was sacked following Poland's elimination at the Qatar World Cup, where they lost to France in the last 16. Poland are 4th in qualifying Group E with 6 points from 5 games. They are 4 points behind leaders Albania and 2 behind second-place Czech Republic and Moldova. After the defeat in Tirana on Sunday, Santos said he was not considering resigning. Poland lost 3-1 to Czech Republic in Santos' first game in charge, their opening Euro 2024 qualifier, before beating Albania 1-0. They defeated Germany in a June friendly before letting slip a 2-0 halftime lead against Moldova and losing 3-2. They also struggled to beat Faroe Islands 2-0, a penalty from Robert Lewandowski in the 73rd minute, breaking the deadlock against a side ranked 129th in the world. Subcups emerged from mountain mists, clinging stubbornly to the Vuelta a España lead by 8 seconds on Wednesday, as his teammate Primoz Roglic won the stage with another jumbo rider, Jonas Vingegaard, finishing second. Tour de France champion Vingegaard remained second overall, but closed the gap on Kuss from 29 to 8 seconds on a day of utter dominance by the Dutch team. Kuss is now in an unexpected position to win the Vuelta. The climb up the Angrelu mountain was 12 kilometers at around 10%, with visibility limited by fog and clouds, where Jumbo's rivals dropped off the pace one by one. Defending champion Remco Evenepoel made a go for it and joined an early escape and attacked from there, but was caught before the final reckoning. Roglic in third overall at 1 minute 8 seconds, with Team UAE Emirates rider Joan Ayuso fourth, but 4 minutes off Kuss' pace, while Mikel Landa is up to 5th from 7th. Roglic won the Giro in May, and after Vingegaard stormed the Tour de France in July, Jumbo now look unstoppable in their bid to become the first team to win all 3 Grand Tours with different riders in a single season. The 3,153.8 kilometer race started with a team time trial in Barcelona on August 26 and ends in Madrid this Sunday after 21 stages. Well, that concludes today's edition of Updates at Noon. In our top story, more investments expected from Prime Minister's second visit to China. Till then, I'm Otto Othman, Malaysia Madani, Tega Perpaduan, Penuhi Harapan. Thanks for watching.